name's Nils. I'm one of the founders of Uncommon Creative Studio, which is a London, New York and Stockholm-based creative studio with about 300 people working on brands globally and building our own. Well, they kind of hyped up the title a bit with the death of advertising and all sorts of other things. I didn't really talk about that. I tried my hardest to be as useful as I could to give everybody ways to find creativity in their organisation and to be able to use it and to make it powerful. So I think that creativity's become a weak word, like hope or care, and it's become used in horrendous ways, and money people and all that sort of stuff roll their eyes at it, whereas I actually think creativity is one of the transformers of the most profitable businesses on the planet. And it's what we do when we're in trouble. It's a survival mechanic. So one is to see creativity very, very differently. The other is to realise, I suppose, that we're all dependent on each other, and worse than that, on someone above them, to go and make the best work of our lives. And it's a conversation none of us talk about, but the idea that we're dependent on people less ambitious than us to make the best work of our lives come true, which is not popular but true. And probably the last one is really that we don't get much time, and how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. And if all of us just want to get to the end and say we made some low-cost content, that's fine, but not so much for me.
So let's go back into the creativity is a weak word. I've not heard that before. That's a powerful thought. And I'm an ad tech guy, and one of the things that always makes me chuckle is you go to like an ad tech conference or the performance end of things, and everyone says, yeah, well, creativity represents 60% of how effective an ad is, and then that's it. It's like, yeah, but that's quite broad.
Yeah. I see what's interesting about that though is if you then stop that entire room and say, how do you make your money? None of them would say creativity. They would say assets, speed, logistics, content, integration, synergy, all of which are great, but not the same thing.
Absolutely not. So, but then equally, I would say that the creative end of the industry looks at performance, and ad tech goes, ugh. So there's a kind of chasm there, isn't there? There's the performance guys who are like, well, I think it's creativity, and the creative guys going, well, there's some performance stuff that happens over there. So how would you advise people to bring those things together so they work?
Look, I think there's a role. I don't think you can start a brand these days without recognising the importance of performance. So you just can't. But I think the nature of it, the language around it, and the way we've built companies to service it have become money-based. And so as a result, they don't respect a leap or the kind of difference that real creativity can make. So is there creativity in that world? Of course there is. But very little of that work is truly creative. Now, I think if you go the brand behind it, well, what if the brand behind it stands for something completely different in its category, or even better in the world? And the role of performance is to then amplify that brand. That's absolutely fine. But I think we're arguing about the wrong thing, which is, can performance be creative, or is it just about advertising, arguably? I don't think it's about either. I'm sort of selling that the most powerful version of creativity is the brand behind it, what it stands for, the type of things it makes in the world. Those don't have to be ads. You don't exist in a category, you exist in the world. And you think you're walking around selling cheese to be slightly better than Cathedral City. You're not. You're making assets that people in the real world are trying to ignore. So everything you make, all the stuff you do, is going out there. And you have a choice to see it in the world. And if you see it in the world, well, you'll probably do a better job of it. You'll probably decide to make something slightly more meaningful, or slightly more useful, or just slightly better. And so that's the biggest thing I'd love people to do. Hopefully useful, maybe slightly provocative for some people, hopefully challenging for others, and hopefully at some point in the future for some of the people in that audience, a reason they go and do their own thing. It's different, it's big, there's lots of people. If one person isn't for you, someone else is going to be. And I think that's the thing. I think you have to keep the variety and diversity of your lineup. But I think also it's in Shoreditch and there's pizza and beer and you can go out afterwards, so why the wouldn't you?